Hello out there. We're on the air. Happy Monday, everybody. What a beautiful day here at the homestead. Trying to load the zaps, but the zaps appear to be pretty slow. Not working. Oh well, YouTube's here. Good morning, YouTube. Johnny? Morning, everyone. It's Monday. Let's do it. Monday's our favorite day because it's a fresh start, and I don't know what's going on here. Zaps might be down today. I can't see my show on there. Maybe I'm out of fun tokens here. Says it's gone. Says 0 viewers though, so maybe nobody else can find it either. Anyways, we'll troubleshoot that as we go here. It's kind of weird. We got Muslim Bitcoiner. Assalam. Anyone see the front cover of Time magazine with Kamala? Yeah, I did. They're sure pulling out all the stops to try to make it appear as though Kamala has any chance of winning anything in her life. I didn't want to start the show with Kamala talk, but oh my God, it's nuts out there. It's nuts. Just quickly. The dumbest, least respected, least likable person on the planet. That's who's running for the Democrats right now. Don't worry about any skin color, any gender, anything else. The dumbest, least respected, least likable person on earth versus probably one of the most influential and popular former presidents of all time. And they're trying to tell people that there's a 50-50 chance of one of those two candidates winning this election. So they're setting everything up. They're using everything that they can, including Time magazine. It's what they do. That's what they've been doing for decades, is using the media, the TV, radio, magazine, for whoever still reads magazines, social media now, and AI, of course. If you look at any of the videos, images, anything to do with Kamala Harris right now, it's all completely fake. It's just an illusion. The whole system is just a complete illusion, and they're running with that. I have no idea what's going to happen. I told my parents yesterday that do I say this online? I don't know. I guess. I like you guys and girls. But I said, if Trump happens to lose the election in November, even though I'm in Canada, if Trump happens to lose the election, then I'm going to be relocating somewhere. And not because I love Trump that much, not because I think he's going to have a real positive impact on Canada here, but then I'll just know that we're in a lot of trouble. That's kind of like the canary in the coal mine for me, is if they actually are able to pull this off and Kamala Harris ends up as the president, I'm out of here. I'm going as far away from North America as possible, because there's no possible way that would happen in a fair and honest system. I don't even expect that. It's just, I know that if she wins, then they've gone through extraordinary efforts to make that happen. And it's going to be very troubling for the people who are here in Canada and the US. So that was my big news for Sunday night. How do they take it? They kind of laugh, but they don't really know that I'm deadly serious with that. But the question is, where do we go? And there's a lot of places I would consider. El Salvador would be one. Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, Thailand. Some good people in the community here who are from Thailand. And I know nowhere is going to be perfect. I don't expect perfect, but I just know that if that happens, then we're in a lot of trouble for the next little while. And I don't feel like going through another 4 years of this nonsense just so more people can figure out what's going on. That's not what I'm into. Timber Crasher, one of our Bitcoin journeymen, and another one, Django. Good morning. Johnny got his bid axe up and running. I might be yelling in here because I got way too many bid axes running in this office right now. But anyways, it's good. Good to hear, Johnny. It was pretty easy. I think if anybody needs help with that, though, you can watch the. Is the Zap stream working today? I see 6 people in there, but I can't see the chat or anything. Shitty. My goal with the bid axes is to get every single person who watches the show, every single person who has ever watched the show, a bid axe, because I think it's our best way forward. Very easy to do, very inexpensive to do, and a great way to help the network and have a chance to win 3.125 Bitcoin. So if you want to join that, if you want to join the bid axe army, click the show notes. There's a link that says bid axe. It takes you to the Bitcoin Journey store, which is hooked up to Solo Satoshi, who are in Texas, and they'll get it out to you for the best priced and very fast too. They're very fast shippers there. Alpha X Omega. I see TubeDroid says a Zap on. I don't know. It's not working for me. It says that there's 8 people watching on Zap.stream, but it's not. I can't get it to work for myself. So I don't know. I've been having some issues with Zap.stream lately. What can I do here? I'll close that. Hold up. Should I maybe restart the computer? It's not working. Oh, there it is. Never mind. There we go. Okay. I see Ahsoka over there, so it's good now. We're good. Okay. Well, good morning. Sorry to start the show with a little rant, but it pisses me off. It just pisses me off that they're able to do it and people actually fall for it. Parker, morning, buddy. Cold Deck. Good morning, all. Yeah, Alpha X Omega says most blacks here in America aren't Democrats anymore. That's the thing for me. That's what really bothers me, is that I know that there's not a whole lot of people who are Democrats anymore. And they're running with this illusion that there's a 50. They were trying to tell people that Kamala Harris had a better chance of winning the election than Donald Trump. She doesn't do interviews. She hasn't done one interview. She doesn't talk to the press. Her rallies are completely AI green screens. And they're trying to tell us that she has a chance to beat the most popular and most influential president, I would say, in history. Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, Nate says because if it was 30, 70, 30, I think that it's far more dispersed than that, honestly. I think it's far more dispersed than that. Then everyone would finally know what's going on. Yeah, that's their main goal, is to keep the news cycle going, to make sure that everybody's distracted enough to hide the fact that a small group of people have the ability to create money, add debt to the balance sheet, which is being added at an extraordinary amount. I saw that 3 days in August, in 3 days this month, they added more debt to the national debt than 1776 to World War II, which would be almost 300 years, 250 years. They added that amount of debt in 3 days. So we're in a debt spiral right now. Most people are starting to become aware of it. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today, actually. That's the title of the show. It's called One Finger at a Time. Kind of a random title, but it is actually inspired by Jeff Booth's, an interview I saw with him yesterday, or watched half of it. Got to finish it because it was good. I mean, if you ever have a chat, if you have some free time and you're looking for some Bitcoin content to consume, I know Jeff Booth kind of, the majority of his interviews, he has the same kind of message overall. Whoa, almost spilled my coffee. Getting too handsy here. Speaking of that, look at this shirt. What a beauty. BTC is king. Bitcoin is king. Available on juxtapose.com. .store. Very, very reasonably priced too. I think it's like $30. Free shipping too if you use the code, which I don't even know what the code is. 88 sats, I think. It's all in the show notes. Anytime you need anything, check the show notes. But where was I going with that? I don't know. I was getting too handsy there. Well, we'll continue on, and if I remember, then I remember. My Path to Fire just zapped 100 sats. Reminder, today is Monday, which is our weekly day that all the zaps from zap.stream go towards our rescue dog fund. So we're gonna build that out for the next, I would say, a couple of years probably. The nice thing about zap.stream is it actually tells you how many. I'm gonna change the goal every Monday, so we'll be able to see how many sats we've been accumulating, and just do it over time, and then start sending it out to save some dogs once we're at a good enough point. So shout out to My Path to Fire for the first zap of the day, and Ahsoka is also over there. We are on. Wish I remember what I was talking about there. Anyways, morning, Rick. Have you smashed the like button yet? It's a good question. Great question. Okay, what was I going to do here? Let's check the mempool. Let's start with that. We'll do the mempool. We'll do the, oh, that's what I was talking about. One finger at a time. Jeff Booth. Even though his message is usually very consistent, which is good, I think. But every time I listen to Jeff Booth and interview with him, I learn something. or something within me sparks a different idea. He talks and thinks much differently than anybody I've ever listened to before. He's inspired a lot of this show, the content within this show, and my mindset towards where we're going and how to think about things. So, I mean, if you watch the Daily Bitcoin Journey, you probably have subconsciously channeled some Jeff Booth within that, but just listen to it. Some parts will make you uncomfortable. I had to listen to like probably 10 interviews with Jeff Booth before I fully comprehended what the hell he was talking about in terms of there's some bird fights or something happening here. Before I really understood what he was talking about with the deflationary, the natural state of the world is deflationary. So just anytime you can, watch a different Jeff Booth episode. Doesn't matter if it was 3 months ago, a year ago, last week. It doesn't really matter. His message is very consistent, and it'll make you think differently about everything. So that's what inspired the show today. Yes, thank you, Bodhi. Thank you for the reminder there. So that is called One Finger at a Time. That's what we're going to be talking about today. AD, morning, brother. All right, let's get to the mempool. We'll do the mempool. We'll do the Bitcoin well, free Bitcoin for the day. And then we'll get to some news. And we'll go from there. All right, here we go. Block height today, 857,480. The new clock of the world. 857,480. And the fees are still incredibly low. I expect we're going to get some news here in the next little while if the hash price remains low. Because the price of Bitcoin is low, the fees are very low. Miners aren't making a lot. So it'll be tough. It's not ideal, honestly, because you're going to see miners like Antpool, F2 Pool, Foundry. They have so much capital. They have so much Bitcoin on their reserves that they're going to be fine. They're going to make it through pretty much anything, I think, at this point. Be pretty hard for them to go down. But what's going to happen is that some of the smaller Bitcoin miners are in trouble right now, and they're going to be the pain's going to continue, I think, for a little while. But until the price goes up, price of Bitcoin. So as much as we say that the price of Bitcoin is fairly irrelevant at this time, it is important to a lot of people, including the Bitcoin miners out there. So 3 sats per VByte is the going rate of the market, the Bitcoin transaction fee market. All right, and I apologize if I'm a little bit out of source today. It's Monday. Usually Mondays are pretty rusty. And I had a very, very late night on Friday. We did our glow golf. We do our annual glow golf out here. And so it was a lot of fun. But at the same time, we actually have to wait until it gets dark here before we can go out and play because it's glow in the dark. So we didn't tee off till about after 10 p.m. Round went on for about 2 hours probably. So it was midnight. We had a couple drinks, did the prizes and everything. Got back to the cabin around 2, and I think we got to bed at like 4:30. And I don't do well with late nights anymore. I never really did, honestly. So the weekend was pretty. I feel like I got a bonus day out of that after Thursday and Friday. Anyways, let's do the Bitcoin Well giveaway today. It's been working. Keep your fingers crossed that it works, and maybe you'll get some free Bitcoin today. So just like we do every day on the show, it's kind of crazy that we do a show every day. Just like we do every day on the show, we're going to give away some Bitcoin here, courtesy of Bitcoin Well. And if you're in the US or if you're in Canada, make sure to get an account. It looks like we got some. I can see when new people sign up here on my end. So we've got 40 people already. That's actually pretty impressive. So 40 people within the community here have already signed up for a Bitcoin Well account. Pretty good. You just go to bitcoinwell.com/Jor and you get 5 free tosses into the Bitcoin wishing well, which equals free sats. You're going to get between 500 and 1 million. 1 million sats every toss. So let's do this one. Who's going to win it today? People haven't been sharing who's been winning. They're trying to, their OPSEC is good. Operational, what is it? Operational security? I don't know. OPSEC means you're trying to keep a low profile. Anyways, here we go. Get your phones out. We're going to toss it here right now. No. Why does this keep happening? No sats to claim. That's a lie. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. But that's life. Sometimes things work. Some days she goes, some days she doesn't go. Today she didn't go. And we wasted a toss into that. Oh well. Okay, I apologize here. The Zapdos stream's kind of laggy too, but I see Letha's over there. I see My Path to Fire. Sorry, some of the chats aren't pulling through either. Kind of frustrating. But nothing we can do. All right. Well, sorry about that, everybody. Got you all horned up there for some free sats. Okay, so this was, let's do some Bitcoin news. Let's do some Bitcoin news. Let's see what's been going on in the world of Bitcoin. I thought this was very interesting. So this says, just in, Thailand elects 37-year-old Paiton Garanton. Yikes. It's not horrible pronunciation. Shinawatra as prime minister. Her father, so it was a her, female, 37-year-old, Pantarn Gontarn. Wow, it's a tough name. Her father, Thaksin, a former prime minister himself, keeps a block clock in his office. So that's pretty cool. Cool that her father was a prime minister and now she's a prime minister. That's pretty That'd be like me running a country almost in a couple of years. Think I could do it? Probably. Honestly, believe that you could just take a phone book. You could flip any page you want to, move your finger down the page, pick one, and they would do a much better job than Justin Trudeau has been doing here in Canada. So, do I think I could? Yes. Would I want to? Probably not. I was actually thinking about that the other day, mostly because I was listening to what Bitcoin did, I think, and Peter's been talking about wanting to run for mayor in this town. I think that's a lot more realistic, like running for mayor or like a elected official in your own little community area. I think if somebody actually believes that they have the ability to run a country and make decisions on behalf of tens of millions of people, hundreds of millions of people in the case of the US, and I think that you're mentally ill. I really believe that. I think that if you actually believe that you have the ability to lead 300 million people and make the best decision and most effectively, then I think that you're mentally ill. And unfortunately, that's what we have to deal with our presidents and prime ministers. But anyways, it's interesting because I do think that, you have somebody like Peter McCormack or a Bitcoiner, and they completely flip everything on its head. I don't think we're quite there yet. I think even if as big of a influencer as Peter is in the Bitcoin world, I just don't know if local communities are ready for that kind of a complete 360 yet. Or not 360, 180. But we will be. We will be soon. One finger at a time. So that was interesting. That made me want to move to Thailand even more, knowing that former prime minister is a Bitcoiner, and his daughter is now the prime minister of Thailand. And there's a lot of great people in Thailand too. Very cheap, I think, to live. But a place that's not cheap to live. Let's take a look at this one. This is kind of a funny video, honestly. I don't know if this guy's being intentionally this nerdy or if that's just how he is, but this is the first gas station to accept Bitcoin in Canada. Courtesy of Bitcoin News. Let's see. Let's check this one out.
And I'm about to make the first Bitcoin transaction in Canada's history at a gas station. I open up my Coinos wallet. I press send. I press scan. Press pay now. 43.89. I press next. Add a tip? Absolutely not. No, it's all good. Okay. And then I press send. Done. First Bitcoin transaction in Canada at a gas station.
Okay, I don't know why I let that play that long. I was in deep thought there or something. Anyway, it's pretty cool. So that was Coinos. Actually, I just downloaded the Coinos wallet last week because I had somebody from Coinos reach out to me, and they actually want to come on the show for a little chat. So I'm hoping we can get them on there here soon. We were supposed to do it last week actually, but it fell through. But I saw that I had an email from them this morning again, so we might have somebody from Coinos coming on the show. I think I want to start doing some interviews. I know that that's not ever going to be like the main style of the show, mostly just because I like how we're doing it right now, and I don't really want to change what's not broken. So anyways, that was Coinos. I have tried Coinos before. It seemed to work pretty well. I think it's Lightning compatible. It sounds like they've been onboarding a shitload of businesses with the Coinos app in Vancouver and other parts of Canada. You saw a gas station there. It seemed like that one was from I would have guessed Ontario or BC just based on the guy and how he was talking, but I don't know for sure. So anyways, pretty cool. And the other thing there was just like how it just goes to show how early we are in this when you see a video like that, like very low production quality. The font at the end was just like straight out of Microsoft Paint, pretty much. It just goes to show how early we are here in Bitcoin today. So, hey, Duncan's here. Good morning, Duncan. Silver Fox, one of our Bitcoin journeymen and Living the Future members. AD says Real Bedford is going to be the biggest football club in the world because of Peter. I agree with that. I do. It'll take some time. It'll take time, but I do think that they have a lot of, I think they have like 80 Bitcoin, 80. Like that's significant. That's significant today. Never mind in a decade from now. But it's really cool to see what he's building there. As much as I don't really love him, I love the show. I love the guests. I love the format of it, everything. But he's done some things that I think a lot of people question, including myself. He was a big advocate of the COVID stuff, the lockdowns. He was a big advocate of that, which if you're a watcher of the show, you know that I do not feel that way. But he's owned up to it. He's had some connections with the FTX. He's still pretty connected with like Ledger, Swan. So him as a person, I don't love, honestly, but he's doing some really good things for Bitcoin and he has done for Bitcoin and for his little town, which I really appreciate. Anunnaki, great name. Why are we consolidating at 58K? I don't know. That's what the illusionary fiat price is right now. And, until you have enough people who want it and there's not enough coins available, then it'll stay this way for a while. But it won't be like this for long. Man, there's a lot of things happening in the yard here this morning. Kind of distracting. Brennan says, dude thinks he's filming a viral historical video dressed that way with absolutely no tip. Yeah, what the hell? That was just like I said, it was a weird video. But anyways, kind of cool still at the same time. It's just, I wanted to show it because it just demonstrates how early we are with the stuff like this. AD says, I think he's above 150. I'm pretty sure on the episode he said they just got to 80, but I could be wrong too. Who knows? All right. Zap.stream is not acting good today. Sorry, everybody on Zap.stream. I see Letha has zapped 420 sats for the pups. Thank you, Letha. That is very much appreciated. Okay. 28 minutes already, eh? We got one more video I want to watch here from one of our favorite guys, Andreas Antonopoulos. And I just thought it was interesting to share. It's an older video, but it's always good to bring up some Andreas. I love how smart he is. I love how early he was. I love his sense of humor. I love watching his videos. So this one's also from Bitcoin News, and it says Bitcoin has achieved a level of computation that no single nation state can overthrow it. And this was a while back. I'm guessing this video is probably at least 7-8 years old now. And if you think about how the level of computation has increased since then, this is even more relevant today. So I think that this is one of the major concerns within Bitcoin and within Bitcoiners themselves, is that, if the government has the ability to just print as much money as they can, how could they not have the ability to overthrow Bitcoin and fork it, change the code, make sure that they hit the block, and then fork the Bitcoin blockchain? So this is what Andreas has to say about that.
Do you have any concerns about a large nation state that has interest in just actively destroying Bitcoin to make their own, super rigs and design chips and just throw hundreds of millions or billions of dollars to intentionally disrupt the blockchain?
Yeah, I don't worry about that at all. This cannot be done with Bitcoin anymore. This is something that can only be done with nascent altcoins. Bitcoin has achieved a level of computing that no single nation state can overthrow it through computation alone. The effort to do so would require a massive covert operation of chip fabrication, then the coordinated assault that would give them dominance over the next block for 10 minutes until we kick those bastards off the network, rework the protocol around them. They would be revealed. They would have lost $1 billion doing this, and all they got to do was one double spend. Now, here's the thing. Long before we get to that point, they figure out that if they just let this stuff run, they can actually get some Bitcoin as a reward because the incentive structure actually works. And so I'm not worried about that. And a lot of people are watching the blockchain. And as I said before, what are they going to do? So they take over and they fork the blockchain and they go somewhere, right? They've created an alternative blockchain. Great. What are we going to do? Who's going to join the NSA blockchain? Anybody want to jump on FedCoin? So we're all going to stay on the old fork. Difficulty will go down. It will get more profitable for the miners who stayed behind, and we'll carry on with our coin, and they can go mine whatever the hell they want on their alternative blockchain. They achieve nothing. They can't make protocol changes because we, as I said, 5 constituencies in consensus, and it would take $1 billion to pull the most ridiculous Keystone Cops failure in history. Plus, this would actually require government that can do IT.
Big fan of Andreas. And he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. And I think that even, there's probably people watching the show either in this chat today or the recorded version of it that have thought about that before. Why couldn't a country just print money, create a whole bunch of, or buy a whole bunch of, he said fabricate a whole bunch of chips, but essentially they would have to buy a shitload of Bitcoin miners and basically ensure that they're going to hit the next block and then fork it. But then what? It would be pretty obvious to see that whole thing play out. And then everybody would just vote. All the nodes vote. It's not based on dollars. It's based on the nodes, the consensus of the network. That's what dictates which way the Bitcoin network goes. And I liked at the end, he said, this would actually require a government who knew anything about IT, which is absolutely correct. Like, think about it. I think we give way too much credit and power to the government. And the people who are working for the government, and I shouldn't say this about everybody, never speak in absolutes, but the majority of people who are working in government are not very intelligent. The intelligent people do not work for the government. And I witnessed this firsthand in the accounting industry. Because what we would do all day is we were working for clients. We were trying to help our clients avoid taxes, avoid paying taxes at any cost. Well, the people, and that's who got paid the most. If you're a partner at a CPA firm, you're making 400, 500 plus. This is in a smaller town every year. And so it attracts the best talent. And that's what happens in every industry. And then you go to the government, even though you got a nice pension and you don't have to do fuck all, you don't get paid very well. And that's who that attracts. There's nobody intelligent that wants to work for the government. So as much as we give them credit for still being around today, they're on a very downward trend. And it's not turning around from here. For a few reasons, because we've kind of crossed that chasm already in terms of the money. There will come a time where the government's money that they print and they create does not go as far as it did before. They won't be able to hire as many people. because people will just say, like, what's the point? Here in Canada, somebody just sent me a zap over the weekend and said, I can't believe that bread is $6 in Canada. What, is it made of gold? And it's true. Like, there will come a time where people just say, enough's enough. I'm not getting any further ahead. I don't like what I'm doing here. I don't like who I'm working for anymore. And that's when everything will, fully shift over. And they're not competent. They're not competent enough to know the ins and outs of what's happening here. So I'm not worried about it either. I couldn't be less worried about that kind of thing. And as he said, if they're smart, they would actually just use that money that they were going to put towards overtaking the Bitcoin network and actually just mine Bitcoin. Like, if you go through that whole trouble of buying all these chips, buying all these Bitcoin miners, setting up the infrastructure to do that, just to take over the Bitcoin network for 10 minutes, why not just keep mining Bitcoin? And that's exactly what we're going to see. We are seeing countries who are already doing that. El Salvador, I think there's who was it? The Bhutan? What's the Bhutan country? Somebody said that they've been mining Bitcoin for a lot of years. I'm pretty sure Russia has. I'm pretty sure China has. The US, there's certain states, I think, that are starting to mine Bitcoin. So we're going to see it. And that's the trend we're going towards. We're not going the other way. Alpha X Omega says, what would happen if Satoshi's wallet started to move Bitcoin? That's a good question. I think if they started to move Bitcoin from Satoshi's wallet, which would be caught within 5 minutes, I think that there would be a lot of panic. There would be a lot of panic. And if there was no like follow-up of who it was and the reason for it, I think there would be a lot of panic. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't know. But even then, but then you also have to think about, you take it one step further than that, right? And you say, okay, well, if that did happen, if Satoshi's wallet started to move Bitcoin, what happens from there? Like, does that mean that the Bitcoin network is no longer useful? Does that mean Satoshi has the ability to change the network at all from this point? No, it's an open protocol. People are running the protocol. They've downloaded the software which runs the protocol. That gets broadcast out to every person in the world running a Bitcoin node, and it will continue. There's nothing, even though Satoshi has 1 million coins, they still have no ability to influence the blockchain and the network and the code going forward. Satoshi could come out and say, I'm moving some coins, I'm changing the protocol. But just like the nation states here that Andreas was talking about, that doesn't really impact anything. They don't have the ability to make everybody else go that way. It's a consensus mechanism, it's proof of work, not proof of stake. If it was a proof of stake coin and Satoshi started moving the coins, then that's a whole nother issue. But in terms of what would happen there? Nothing. What if we found out who Satoshi was? What if it was the Chinese government? What would happen? It's an open protocol based on consensus. So I don't know, that stuff doesn't really, the further you go down the whole path of what could happen, the thought experiments within Bitcoin, the faster you come to the conclusion of nothing can happen to it. And that's Jeff Booth's kind of underlying premise there, is that as long as it stays decentralized and secure, then everything will continue to fall in comparison to Bitcoin forever. So those are the two questions. And that's what he kind of touched on in the interview that I watched, actually, is why and how the Bitcoin blockchain will be decentralized and secure, why it has to stay that way. Plunger over in Zap.stream has zapped 100 sats for the dogs. Thank you, Plunger. Great name. AD says, what if someone spun up a shitload of nodes and tried to make a change to the code or convince many nodes with massive propaganda? Well, that's certainly a possibility. you know, it's not a guarantee that Bitcoin's going to stay decentralized and secure. That's why Jeff Booth starts all of his videos, all of his theories with that, is because of course, there's a chance that nobody wants to use Bitcoin anymore with massive propaganda or what. He actually, speaking of that, he kind of alluded to the fact that we've already been through that part. The propaganda, the FUD, we've been through that part for the last 15 years. And more people are starting to realize that it was all bullshit. And those people, once they understand that, they're not going back. So that part's kind of already been done within Bitcoin's history. They've basically put out all the propaganda that they possibly can about Bitcoin, and we're still here. So there you have it. But speaking of Jeff Booth, I'm actually gonna, what should we do here? What should we do here? Because I still have something that I want to talk about here. Maybe I'll just do it on the show here today. Maybe I will. For the dogs. But the title of today's show, hold on. Let me bring this up. Yeah, we'll do it for the dogs today. We'll do another full show on YouTube today. So the title of today's show is called One Finger at a Time. And there's a couple different meanings for that. It was inspired by Jeff Booth's interview that I watched yesterday. And so the first part of that is like the one finger at a time. Think of the flipping somebody off. And I really want you to kind of the overlying theme of what I'm about to talk about here is that we are all nodes. You think about Bitcoin, the Bitcoin network and the nodes that are out there, and how, you know, every 10 minutes a new updated version of the blockchain gets sent out to all those nodes. And the more nodes we have, the more powerful, secure, stronger the Bitcoin network is. So I really want you to think about yourself as a Bitcoin node here, because the more nodes that we accrue here over time, the faster the faster adoption will increase. And that's kind of our whole goal here, right? Because we know two things. We know that the Bitcoin supply is going to continue to go down every 4 years forever. We know that. And it already has a lower inflation rate than gold has. At this point, 15 years into this thing, it already has a lower inflation rate than gold, which was previously the hardest money out there, the most scarce asset out there. So that's the first thing. The second one is that there's approximately 3 or 4 million coins that have been lost by people in the early days who either got hacked, locked themselves out, got taken down through an exchange. I forget the one here in Canada that went down. But let's say that there's 3 or 4 million lost coins. That's only going to get higher here, because I'm sure within the last 4 or 5 years, especially 2021 run up, there was a bunch of people who bought Bitcoin. And I don't think we've actually considered them, a portion of them, to be in the lost coins yet, the 3 or 4 million. I think it's already higher than that. And I think as we move on here and as more and more people start to dip their toes in Bitcoin who don't really know what they're doing in terms of securing their Bitcoin, that amount is only going to go up. So the actual supply of new Bitcoins going down, the amount of lost coins bringing the total supply of Bitcoin down over time, those are the certainties within Bitcoin. Those are the things that we know are going to happen regardless of what we do, right? Bitcoin doesn't care. Anything could happen in the world. Bitcoin does not care what's going on. It just does its thing. Every 10 minutes, a new block is produced. Within that block, there's a bunch of transactions. Me sending Bitcoin to you, you sending Bitcoin to the rescue dogs. That's it. Actually, that's not on layer one. Bad example. But you know what I mean. That's all there is. Every 10 minutes, there's a new block. It gets sent out to every person running a Bitcoin node. So those are the certainties. But the other part of it, the part that we have the ability to influence and change, is the demand part. So there's supply demand. I call Bitcoin the greatest economic recipe in history because of that. Even if demand flatlined for the next 50 years, the price and the purchasing power within Bitcoin would increase simply because of the supply. The supply is going to keep going down forever, and we assume that the demand is going to keep going up forever. So that's why people say Bitcoin is going to go up and to the right forever, for those two reasons. So the thing that we do have the ability to influence is the demand side of things. And the faster that we can get people to really understand what's happening here and push the adoption, the faster we can move out of the fiat system. And that's the end goal here with everything. So one finger at a time is just, we have to start calling out the bullshit in life. That's kind of like the first version of this. We have to. And whether that has to do with the Olympics, the gender stuff, the banks, the elections, whatever that is, if you're part of a conversation or if you hear your friends or your family talking about something that you know is completely wrong, don't be a dick about it. But we have to start calling this stuff out. We have to. Otherwise, nothing's going to change. If you know something's true in your heart and in your mind, and you're afraid to talk about that, then you're part of the problem. Even though you don't agree with what they're saying, you're not doing anything to change the direction here. So the first part of this, one finger at a time, is just don't be afraid to tell somebody to go fuck themselves. Honestly, whether it's your friend, your family, your coworker, it doesn't matter. Family's going to be there regardless. You might not get along with them, but everybody else, and I've been through this in the last 4 years, a lot of it. And I've lost a lot of friends and relationships going through it, but I'm okay with it. I really am. And I think that if I didn't do that and I didn't, stick my neck out a little bit, I would have a lot of regrets later in life. And so it is time. Now is the time that we have to we can't be afraid to tell somebody to go fuck themselves. And whether they're trying to make you do something you don't want to, or they're talking about something that you know is wrong, just don't be afraid to call it out. And if you lose them as a friend, that's fine. That's fine. If they're not willing to understand your point of view, then it's probably for the best anyways. But so that's kind of the first part of it. And that's the aggressive part of it. But the other part too is the one person at a time, one finger at a time. That's what I want you to think about here. Because this whole thing is only going to happen one person at a time, one day at a time, and one finger at a time. We are nodes here. We're all nodes. And the more we can influence and impact other people to not necessarily see the benefits of Bitcoin, but try to at least open their mind, try to get them to that point where their mind's open. And maybe they have the thought in their back of their head that maybe the money is the problem. Because that's what we all know. That's the secret that we all share, is that within every issue that's happening in the world right now, the core of that is the fiat dollar. Point at whatever you want to. The core problem there is the fiat dollar. And so the faster we can not convince, open people's minds. That's all you want to do. Just every person you come in contact with, try to open their mind up a little bit. That's it. That's all that you can do. So one person at a time. And the one finger at a time, this really resonated with me, because that's what Jeff Booth was talking about. He said people are going to get there one finger at a time as we try to pull people away from the old system, the old fiat system that they're clinging to, because there's still so many people out there who are truly benefiting from that system still. Their paycheck relies on that system continuing. Think about how fat our government's been getting, how many people they've added to the government. I don't know what the percentage of the total employment here in Canada actually works for the government, but it is catastrophic. So as we try to pry them out of that old system, open their minds and try to see, what the actual problem here is, they're going to be clinging, they're going to be holding on to that system. And that's what he said, one finger at a time. That's how we're going to get them over from the fiat system onto a Bitcoin standard, or at least have their minds open up one finger at a time. But I want you to think about your own experience. Because for me, think about what pried you away from that system. It might not have been one event that you can really reflect on, but it was a series of events. And I guarantee that every person watching this or listening to this later had that experience. And for me, it was 2020. It was what happened with the pandemic. You know, I was told that I was an idiot, even though I was I was consuming my life with trying to figure out what's really going on here. And, you know, you go down 100 different rabbit holes that way, but you compare it to somebody who didn't do any sort of looking into this, and they're the ones telling you that you're an idiot. So that was part of it for me. And so at my job, I was a manager at a big accounting firm here in Canada. And my job was trying to say, you know, you're either going to do this or we're going to make your life very painful. And so they made me, there was like a couple of us, we probably had 40 or 50 people in the office. I think there was 2 or 3 of us who said, you know, we're not doing this. So you can say whatever you want, you can do whatever you want, but we're not doing this. And they said, you know, you can't come into the office now. You have to work from home. So I was in pretty much like solitary confinement, doing something I didn't necessarily love doing, and being blacklisted and banished and alienated by the company for the decision a personal decision that should have been absolutely nobody's fucking business except my own. So that's what pried me away from that system. That was the kind of the final finger there, I think, that took me away from that. But you have to keep in mind here that not everybody has been through that yet. Not everybody has had their big moment or their, you know, significant part of their life where that happened. Not everybody has had that. A lot of people just went along with it. They said, yeah, that's fine, whatever. I want to be able to go sit at a restaurant and hang out with my friends, go on a trip. So I'll do it. I don't care. So they didn't go through the same thing that we did or that I did. And that could be a variety of things. It doesn't have to be necessarily related to COVID. I think that there's been a lot of people who are here earlier than the pandemic. You know, maybe they were saying something online that the overlords didn't like. They froze their bank account. There was a lot of people who that was their last finger when they had their bank account frozen by the government here in Canada for supporting a peaceful protest against them. But not everybody has gone through that yet. And I think that, you know, as we go through these different things here in the news and in the geopolitical world, people are every single day are having their last finger pried away from that system. And that's who's joining Bitcoin. That's who's joining NOSTR. That's who's watching these videos instead of watching the mainstream news. So you just have to keep in mind here that, you know, it's going to happen, but they just haven't been there yet. So kind of the moral of that story is that even though you see a whole bunch of people out in your life, whether that's your parents, your siblings, your spouse, your best friends, your coworkers, even though they're not Bitcoiners today, that doesn't mean that they're a lost cause. That doesn't mean that they're a different segment of the population than you are. They just haven't went through that experience yet where their last finger hasn't been taken off of that old system yet. They're still there. But, you know, as I said, we're going to, regardless of it's here in Canada or somewhere else on earth, they're going to go through that because things are going to get worse. Sorry, I can't believe what's happening in the yard here with these birds. It's very distracting. I don't know what's going on. It's kind of weird, honestly. But so it'll happen. It'll happen. And we have to be both patient and we have to be a little bit persistent, I think, and not pushing Bitcoin on people, but really trying to have them question that. And, you know, the more that we can do before something like happens, the easier it'll be to pry them away from the old system. So it is going to happen. And when it happens, that is the part of the equation, the supply and demand. That is the one thing that we actually can impact, is the demand side. We have the ability to change that. And I know it's easy to think that we're just a very small segment and, you know, who the hell am I? But it does take one person at a time, one day at a time, and one finger at a time. That's the last piece of this equation here, is one finger at a time. I see Frog Friend 17 over in Zap.stream. I like his, he's a pretty good follow on NOSTR. I like him or her. And my Path to Fire Zap 21 sats, another 21 sats. Thank you. All right, let's catch up on some chats here, and then we'll call it a day. But that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, is just be patient with it. Understand that not everybody's where you are. Not everybody's experienced the same thing that you have. Not everybody has had that moment that pried you away from the old system. Not everybody's gone through that yet, but they will as things get more painful here and as things get crazier in the world. I know it seems like we're kind of peak right now, but think about the people who are still holding on to that old system and still are under the false illusion that that system's going to continue. It's not. We know that, but over time they'll understand that as well. So have patience, have persistence, and just keep pushing forward. It's the only thing that we can do. I know that there's a lot of shitty days as a Bitcoiner, but there's going to be a lot of good days coming. And beyond that, days that we can't even imagine. Hey, Daniel zapped 1,000 sats for the dogs today. Thank you, Daniel. Good to see you, my friend. And thank you for the sats for the dogs. Okay, so let's, I got my rant out of the way there. We decided we're going to do the full show on YouTube. I like to do that once in a while, but we have to be, I have an idea that in my head that I'm going to start doing going forward. So I'll provide more info on that in the next couple of days. Tim McCrasher. Satoshi is Hal Finney. The dude crypto froze himself. Wake up when you're a multi-trillionaire. That would actually be, you know, as smart as we think Satoshi is, that would be the smartest move of all time. Jason says, Real Bedford has sold more merch than all the clubs in the league combined since inception, approximately $250,000 worth. The BTC Football Club was discussed on the Dylan LeClaire episode. Man, they're I know we're not there yet, but that's going to be one of those things in life that I think everybody knows about. And, you know, you can keep in mind here with this comment here, keep in mind that there's no reason why you can't do something like that. There's no reason that you can't do something like that. It takes time. It takes a lot of effort, obviously, but just understand how much influence you're going to have in the future. Whether that's for a soccer or a football club, whether that's for your community, whether that's just for your family, understand how much influence and wealth that you're going to have in the future. Being here now, 15 years into this Bitcoin thing, regardless of how many sats you have, it's going to be you. And just understand that you could do this with your local hockey, your rec hockey team. We did something very similar to this with our 88 sats Bitcoin and golf project, where we had like 88 people pitch in some Bitcoin. And after 10 years, if you have a long enough time frame with this, that's the key. After 10 years, we want to buy our own golf course. So you should start thinking about these things that you could have in your life with using Bitcoin as your method to do it, your strategy. There's no reason that you can't do that. Peter's just a guy with a goal and a vision for himself and a lot of Bitcoin, but you know, 80 Bitcoin today is probably going to be the equivalent of 8 million sats in 10 years from now. I honestly believe that. There's bird wars here. We got robins. We got some swallows. We got some other ones. They're all just fighting each other. It's wild. I don't know what's going on. Rock and Roll says, when the fiat starts to break down, the magnitude of the lies told increases. We're going through that right now. We're going through that right now. It is the fiat apocalypse, as Daniel says. And we got Noah over in the chat. Good morning, Noah. Good to see you. We need to figure out how to change your name on here so you don't have to tell everybody it's you every day. Alpha X Omega says, did you say we are all nerds? Yeah, we are. We're weird. We're nerds. You have to be. We might be on the spectrum as well. Who knows? I never really considered that myself until Bitcoin. That's what people do. They find something that they like and that they really believe in, that they love doing, and they obsess over it. I know a lot of people like that, to a different scale, but that's kind of what Bitcoiners do. And I don't know what the main drive there is. I think that the thing that makes me think that maybe we're not on the spectrum is because we're doing it for a much bigger purpose than ourselves. You know, there's a lot of people who are, let's say, on the spectrum, who put a lot of time, all their energy into mastering a craft. If you look at some people with who are on the spectrum, whatever they do extremely well because that's all that they think of. They have a very one-track mind. And, you know, I feel like that a lot of times in my life with Bitcoin, but within Bitcoin, there's so many different avenues to that. And I think that people within Bitcoin are doing it for a much bigger purpose than themselves. But we are definitely nerds, definitely weird. You have to be a little bit weird to be in Bitcoin at this point, but proud. I can't believe what's happening here. Sorry, I'll quit talking about it because you guys can't see it. Timber Crosser says, I think even if you get a bunch of malicious node running, it would basically fork the chain. You don't have to update your node software. Level-headed Bitcoiners could fork if needed to. Yeah, that's what gives me hope is there's so many nodes and there's so many people who are here today that aren't going anywhere. Once you get out of that system, the fiat system, you don't ever go back. Chico in the van, good morning. Don't forget the money printers still going burr. It seems like every day the governments are announcing their new plans to try to win votes. And the beauty of Bitcoin is that helps us. So if you're living on a Bitcoin standard now, that it not only doesn't hurt you, it actually helps you. 100% broken money is the root. Everything else is a distraction. The fiat, we talked about that last week. What happened in 1971? As soon as they took the money off the hard money standard, everything, every aspect of society and our lives went downward trending. Crime rates up, drug use up, overdoses up, suicides up, divorce rates up, relationships, babies down, employment down, everything. Number of jobs required to put food on the table up. 1971 changed everything. It was 100% the fiat dollar changed everything. Anunnaki says, even if DARPA or the CIA created Bitcoin, that makes me even more bullish. They created the internet and all tech we use today. Yeah, if you understand Bitcoin and how the whole thing works, then it's not really a threat to anything, right? It's not. I mean, the main issue with that would be the fact that they would be able to surveil all the transactions. But at the same time, there's things like eCash. Lightning isn't very private, but eCash and things will develop from here too, where you'll be able to convert Bitcoin on the Lightning Network into an eCash token with a blind signature there. It spits out a totally different interpretation of that without anybody knowing where that came from. And that's how we'll all be able to transact in a very private and secure manner. It'll only be us nerds and weirdos for the next 5-10 years probably. But after that, that's what we're going to have the ability to do. And then the flip side of that is that the people who actually do require the transparency, who should be telling us where our tax dollars are going to. Oh, what's Arnie doing? Hey, buddy. There's Arn. Oh, you can't see him. Snoozing. He had a big weekend. Arnie was up till 4:30 as well. He's been very, very tired for the last couple days. That was his latest night by about 3 hours ever. Rick says pain can be a great teacher. 100%. That's what's going to pry people away from it is pain. Once they go through that moment in their life where they get to that point and they get pried away from that system, that's when we welcome them with open arms. And I also agree with this. Americans have become fat, weak, and lazy. We need some turmoil to push forward, I think. Everything, that's how life works. Everything, you can't just keep going down the same road forever and keep doing the exact same things. Things are always changing, always evolving. And, the forest, you look at a forest that's been burnt down and how well it grows afterwards. Sometimes you have to burn things down to really flourish. And that's what we're doing, thank God. Because there's only so much more we can take of this. What are your thoughts on John McAfee? Honestly, I don't really have thoughts on him. I like him a lot. I don't know whether he's dead or not. There was a lot of weird things that happened around the time of his death that made me question a few things in terms of, was it real? Did it actually happen? Who's he involved with? But overall, I think he was a real net positive for everybody. My favorite John McAfee moment was when he said if Bitcoin didn't hit $1 million before 2020, he was going to chop his dick off. And then he died. So great guy though. He did a lot for, waking people up. That's the thing. You have to keep in mind that it could be an event. It could be a pandemic. It could be a person in your life that, opened your mind up to everything. And everybody resonates with different people. Some people like McAfee, some people like Trump, some people like Snowden, Assange. There's a bunch of people and not everybody likes all of them, but, say what you want about Donald Trump, but he woke me up to a lot of the stuff, the corruption in the world, a lot of the bad things that happen in the world and the wars. And, that's what led me to this point here. And same with the stuff at work. That's what led me to this point. So even though it was shitty for, a long time, for the best. I haven't spent one day, 1 second even probably regretting leaving that job. Uh, 80.08 Bitcoin is going to be worth 8 Bitcoin in 20 years. Probably. I don't know for sure. I don't have a crystal ball, but that's the way we're headed. I've got some good chats here today. Pomp, good morning. Good to see you. Haven't seen you for a while here, I don't think. Muslim Bitcoiner says, I've been talking to a lot of family members, and sadly, let's just say the next 4 years are looking bleak. However, maybe the idiot for Prez might be enough pain for people to get a wake-up call. Yeah, and that's kind of what I talked about at the start of the show. For me, is I'm not going to go through 4 more years of this. I'm not. And even though my life isn't, I'm not in dire straits or anything like that, but it's more so the environment, right? I'm just getting really tired of going to the grocery store going out in public, going to different events, and people, talking very poorly about the government, complaining about the prices of everything, but not doing a fucking thing about it. And just kind of accepting that, that's life. This is just how it is. That's what really bothers me is when people know that there's a problem and do nothing about it. And so that's kind of my canary in the coal mine here. If they manage to win, I got to watch the transcript here. If they manage to win another election year in the US, I'm gone. I'm out of here. I don't know how long it'll take or what the path is, but I'm going to leave at least until sanity somewhat returns here. And it's going to take a while. But the thing is we're not going back to that world. Understand that. That's the key thing to keep in mind here. That there's no way we're going back to that world. We're not moving into a centralized world. We're moving in the exact opposite of that. But it's just how many years do I want to spend living a lie here, essentially? And this show, doing it every day, has been a big help for me, being able to talk about this stuff, seeing other people in the chat, seeing people show up and support the show, knowing that I'm not that crazy. And I'm sure that's why people watch the show as well, because it is a very lonely place when you're in that spot and your whole real life network doesn't share the same kind of vision of the future and urgency. It's really hard. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's where would you go? I said a few different spots at the start. El Salvador would definitely be a consideration. Costa Rica, I think there's the Bitcoin jungle there. There's a lot of great things happening in Costa Rica. Puerto Rico seems like there's a lot happening there. Thailand, we saw the former prime minister there with a block clock in his office, and his daughter just won the prime minister there. And there's some great people within this community here who are in Thailand. So that'd be some. I really don't want to, though. So I don't say this in like an excited way. I really don't want that to happen. I love Canada. Even though we have like half a day of summer here and hot weather for the whole year, I love it here. So it would be very unfortunate, very shitty if that were to happen. But I'm telling you, if they manage to get Comrade Kamala in as running the US, I'm out of here. I could not imagine that. I could not imagine what that world looks like. And, on the flip side of things, with Trudeau, with Kamala Harris, the saving grace there would be that they're going to make this thing happen faster. They're going to accelerate things because they're going to print a shitload of money. They're going to wake more people up, and it's going to happen faster. But I just don't want to be around for it. I'll come back. I probably won't sell my house here, but I'll just need to get away for a while. I mean, that's exactly what I did during the pandemic. I was in the city for 15 years, and I just got to a boiling point where I just said, I cannot be around people like this all day. It was deteriorating me. Plunger says we get 2 whole days of summer here on the West Coast. Yeah, it's kind of shitty. But at the same time, it's very safe unless you're living in like Toronto or a bigger city. It's very safe. The weather's shitty, but my ideal life, and this is kind of what I'm working towards, is that I want to spend like 7 or 8 months here in the summertime and maybe the fall, and then go somewhere for 3 or 4 months for the rest of the year. That's kind of what I want to, that's my goal here. We talk about like 5-year goals. That's kind of like my goal here, is to structure my life where I can do that. And it's not going to be easy. I know that, but it's what I want to do. So we're going to do it. All right. Well, I think that's it for today. We covered a lot of stuff today, a lot of stuff. I think that's Noah. Yeah. Let's go to Sovereign Valley, like John Galt and Atlas Shrugged. I mean, I really don't rule that kind of stuff out. I really don't. And even if it is just for a while, and you have to just be around people that you like and you can grow from that. I mean, that's why I'm so attracted to the NOSTR community, because it's, for the most part, it's like-minded individuals. They have different opinions on things. I disagree with a lot of things I see on there, but the underlying mindset there is that everybody wants a better future. Everybody's tired of the old system, the legacy system. Everybody's trying to build something that is worthwhile, and people understand you there. And that's why, I love Nostr, but it's virtual. There's people in other parts of the world that I converse with, but you still need that real life, person to person, human interaction with people. And so that's why I would consider leaving here, is just to be around more people like that. But there are some great things being built on the internet and in real life by Bitcoiners. So we just have to have the patience to get to that point. Alpha X Omega says, listen to Bill Cooper, the hour of the time. He predicted 9/11. That's maybe that's where we'll end it today. That's another thing that I heard over the weekend, which is great advice. I really want you to start paying attention to the people that you follow, the information that you take in, because it really shapes who you are in your life. The people that you pay attention to, the people you follow, and the people you watch on YouTube. And really take a good hard look at, have they been right about things, or have they been completely off? And because it's really easy for people to be attracted to people who are saying the same thing as them, but we forget that all the times that people were wrong about things. And so really try to pay attention to who you're following to, or who you're following online, and who you're paying attention to, who you're subscribing to. Because if they've been wrong about things, then it might be time to reconsider, finding somebody else to listen to. Maybe they're not giving the best advice. You can find advice and as much as you want online, but you really have to pay attention to your inputs in life. So really take a look at, you don't need to make a list of it, but make a mental list of who you've been paying attention to, and have they been on the right track? Have their predictions or their theories been somewhat accurate, or are they completely off? Because don't ever get into a closed mindset either, where you think that you know exactly what's going on, and just because you want it, that's what's going to happen. You have to consider who you're following, and trim is needed. Same with your friends. Chico on the van says, my only friends are cows and bulls. I can talk Bitcoin with them. They're very, very bullish. There you go. You're lucky. You're fortunate. A lot of people don't have that. But I've found a lot of hope and a lot of solitude in our Living in the Future community. So that's where we'll end it today. If you've been watching this, I know that there's a lot of people watching on YouTube today. If you've been watching the show on a regular basis and enjoying it and getting some value from it, consider giving some back. I don't love asking for it, but it's necessary, because I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to push this whole thing forward. And the more positive feedback, the more within that loop, the more motivation it gives me to put more energy towards this. So if you've been watching it, if you've been enjoying it, consider click on the channel, click on the join. It's $3 a month Canadian to join as a Bitcoin journeyman. And like I said, it helps support a little bit financially, but more so just the whole, the feedback loop for me, and make sure that we're on the right track here. So that's one. And if you want to go a little step further, if you want to be part of a Bitcoin community, the Living in the Future, it's about $5 a month. So you can join as a Patreon. I'm going to be updating it, making a few changes to it as we go, but there's still a few spots left in the Visionary tier, which is a good one. And so consider that. And shout out to everybody who was on the Zap.stream today, who sent some sats to the Rescue Dog Fund. And with that, thank you, everybody else. Thank you for being here today, being part of the show. BTC Backpackers mowing lawns for sats again today. It's a great day for it here. I wish I was outside cutting grass. But we got to keep pushing forward. So anyways, once again, I appreciate you all. If you feel like giving some back, you can also use this QR code at the top. That's Arnie's wallet. And all sats are appreciated. It could be 10 sats, could be 100. It does not matter. It's just show support. It keeps the feedback loop going, and we'll keep showing up here every day. So have yourselves a great Friday. Thank you once again for being here, and we'll see you tomorrow. You're in a good spot because you're holding an asset that everyone on earth is going to want. So just appreciate that and make sure that you protect it. Have a great day. We'll see you right back here first thing tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.